other along the way with your social peers. So it's very important to know who your peers are and to help one another, invite one another, and so on. So when Jesus is saying to the host, this leading Pharisee, no, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, not the wealthy neighbors or your brothers or family or friends. He says, what Jesus is really saying to the leading Pharisee is go commit social suicide. Because if this leading Pharisee starts associating with those beneath him, his peers will stop associating with him. If he invites to dinner those below him, he'll be alone with them. And soon he won't be a leading Pharisee. Yes, Jesus makes clear that we sing this beautiful song, God, in your goodness, you have made a home for the poor. It's not just talk. It's not just song. It's who you eat with. Since that dinner party, not much has changed. There are deep divisions in our society. At the Rio Olympics last week, they had a beautiful soccer stadium, a state-of-the-art turf and stadium. Everything was wonderful and beautiful inside. But just outside, just down the street, there was a soccer field for the kids. It was all just a dirt lot with a broken goalpost. Not even is just broken in sight of this billion-dollar soccer field. And what a gap, what a division. Once I did a hunger meal with a youth ministry group, and the kids came in. We told them, they'd be fasting and praying, and so they stayed away from snacks. They came in there a little bit hungry. We said, great, we have dinner for you. And we sat down 2 kids at a nice table with cloth linens and had someone serving them, plated dinner, salad and chicken, desserts, all the works. It was very nice, couple candles on this little table. And then also in the room a little further away, there was a table, fold-up table with a half dozen chairs, and some were told to sit there at random. They were told to sit down and not to move. They were allowed to talk, and they could. And then we gave them a loaf of bread, some peanut butter and jelly, and some water in glasses. And then finally, the majority of the kids were put in the back of the room on the ground, told to sit on the ground. They were not allowed to talk, not allowed to move, and they were given a loaf of Wonder Bread and a 2-liter bottle of water with a little bit of dirt in it. No glasses. So that was the rules. So the 2 at the very nice table, they started their dinner, and the salad was very nice, and they're allowed to talk, they're allowed to move, do whatever they want, and they're just enjoying themselves, and this is nice. And they start looking around, and they start in their chicken, and they realize this is not everyone's getting what they're getting. And they're just trying to figure this out. And so they go to the group on the ground, but they're not allowed to talk. And then they go to the other group with peanut butter and jelly, and they can talk, and they say, well, we're not allowed to move, and that's all we know. And so they eventually get around to sharing a little bit what they have left over. And bringing it over, they can do that. They can walk and bring it over. And that was it. So after everyone ate, or ate what they could, then we talked about it. And those at the nice table saying, well, that's kind of sad. I'm sorry, not everyone had such a nice dinner as us. It's too bad. And those at the table with peanut butter and jelly, the folding table, they were upset. That you guys got better than us, and what makes you so special? And the people on the ground who were allowed to talk, allowed to move, they were furious. It's so unfair. They're hungry still. All they had is a slice of bread and a little bit of dirty water. And they weren't able to do anything about it. They were powerless. Completely at the mercy of what the others offered them. Leftovers. This hunger meal it gives a demonstration of divisions in our world. Between first world, the nice table, all you can eat, you can move, talk, do what you want. The second world, at the folding table, the peanut butter and jelly. And the third world, where you can't move, can't eat very little, can't talk, and pretty much powerless, relying on the mercy of others. Relying on the mercy of others. And those first world people didn't understand, why are they so mad at us? We didn't do anything. Exactly. There's such divisions in the world. Our own society, our own area here, beautiful area. People move here. We have beautiful schools, good schools. kids don't know it yet. They don't appreciate the homework, but someday they will. And the sacrifices people to make to move here, because it costs more. People pay a premium for the good schools and the parks. They want to live here, so they pay a premium for that. And so they build bigger houses and nicer houses, and people move here. And that's great, that's fine, but you really don't see a whole lot of the poor, the crippled, the blind, the lame. So divisions in our society. Well, at this dinner party, where Jesus was a guest, the home of the leading Pharisees, and kind of a guest they probably are not going to invite back, Jesus went from that dinner party to another banquet. Except this time he was not a guest, he was the host. And at this dinner party, he invited a bunch of nobodies, tax collectors and fishermen, even a guy who would repay him by betrayal. And at this dinner party, he got down on his hands and knees, the host, and washed their feet. Something a servant is supposed to do, but he did it himself. And then they talked about the Passover, remembering how God had delivered them from slavery in Egypt and brought them to the promised land, and said, I am your God, you are my people, made a covenant with his people. And remembered that Passover long ago. And then he took bread and broke it and said, this is my body given up for you. And then he took a cup of wine and said, this is a cup of my blood to be poured out for you. He went forth from that dinner party, strange dinner party, to be arrested and tortured and executed, to die for those nobodies around that table. Talk about humility. Our Lord God set aside all his divinity and glory and power, humbled himself, being born as the poorest of the poor, to dwell with his people, setting aside everything, all power, accepting whatever came, humbly, without complaint, so that we can be raised up. And in doing so, and sacrifice of the cross, he reconciled heaven and earth, overcame that division that sin had created, and reconciled heaven and earth, all through that strange dinner party. Now, every time we gather here around this table, that same risen Lord hosts that same dinner party. It's much more than a meal. He invites the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. He invites even you and me. He feeds us with his word. He feeds us with himself. And when we respond to blessed are those called to the supper of the Lamb with the words, Lord, I am not worthy, truer words were never spoken. Lord, I am not worthy. Yet he invites us all the same to gather around his table. It's much more than a meal. The meal that reconciles heaven and earth. It gives us peace. Pope Francis, when he was elected pope, said the church is for the poor, and with the poor, the church is the poor. The church is the felons, the addicted, the broken, those broken by life, humbled so much that they have to ask for help. They can't handle themselves. They're humbled to ask for help and accept whatever is given to them, if anything. That's the church of Jesus Christ. And we are that church. We are those who have been broken by life and rely on the Lord, and now can take that to others. The same mission of Jesus Christ, to lead the way across those divides between the rich and poor, the strong and the weak, the wanted, the unwanted, to lead the way across the divide. commit social suicide and go to those beneath us, below us, that Christ would raise them up in us. God, in your goodness, you have made a home for the poor. That home is here.